Everything about the 6040R simply feels rock solid. From the die-cast aluminium build to the setup, the sound, the software and the future-proofing. It's a little speaker system with a long-lasting all-round sound infused with that professional approach to things. The price is just under 8,000 euro for a pair, and it should be viewed with the fact that it comes with built-in room correction, built-in power amps and speaker stands integrated. Oh, about time. These ladies, they can dance. This is a review you don't want to miss out on. Smaller two-way speakers are likely the most popular choice for music lovers of all shapes and sizes. They are also less complicated to design and can deliver great sound. However, due to their size, they seldom offer any real low bass performance, which might even be a good thing if you live in an apartment with close neighbors.
Good morning, my neighbors!
Two-way systems are often used in studios as near-field monitors, and some of the most famous ones have been brought to market since 1978 by the Finnish professional speaker manufacturer Genelec. Believe it or not, the hi-fi and professional markets don't really talk much to each other, which I always have found kind of weird. The pro products often deliver insanely good value for the money. This threatens the entire portfolio of hi-fi speakers in a hi-fi store. Therefore, I speculate that even if Genelec wants to sell to the hi-fi market, they're having a hard time doing it, as they won't be getting much support from hi-fi resellers. The hard times in the hi-fi business have not kept Genelec from offering home-oriented speakers, but I'm guessing that they are primarily sold to the professional user base that loves their Genelecs and wants something similar for their homes. In the huge selections of speakers that Genelec has available, the G series and the F series subwoofers and these ladies, the Signature series 6040R model, are intended for home use. It's safe to say that innovation is thriving at Genelec. In fact, the hi-fi business might even feel a little intimidated at times, adding to the divide between the two sectors and reinforcing the miscrediting of professional speakers as being raw and rough and hard, which is kind of nonsense, but it has been accepted as fact for decades. In this review of the Signature Honeys here, I set out to figure out what they are all about, challenge what they can do and find out if the professional technology here is practical enough for home use. I also invite the CD and two-way bookshelfer masterman himself, Carsten, to come and give them a listen for a second opinion. The 6040R is a two-way floor-standing smart active loudspeaker that is actually a re-engineered version of the original 6040A loudspeaker model with award-winning industrial design by Harry Koshikin, but now with professional bass driver technology, proprietary Class D power amplification, internal DSP, and close integration with GLM loudspeaker manager software. The 1040R was introduced in the beginning of 2023. At first glance, the 1040R design, apart from the stand, looks pretty much like any other Genelec monitor besides the ones and the main monitors, but the 6040R is actually in a closed cabinet, while all the others are ported. Instead, Genelec made this beautiful backside, making this thing quite a looker to me from the back too. Something to appreciate if placed freely in a room, say as back channels in a surround system. All connections are simply moved to the foot base. The metal design here makes for a very strong and durable and rigid construction without any resonances whatsoever. The tweeter unit here sits in a waveguide, and the upgraded bass driver is neatly protected behind the integrated grille. The speakers are driven by two 150-watt proprietary switching amplifiers of Genelec's own design. I mean, just look at them. I think it's a very elegant design, purposeful and sleek in my eyes. Being an active speaker, all you actually need is to connect a source that has a variable output, preferably one that has a good, safe preamplifier function and no weird clicks and pops and stuff like that when being turned on and off. Here in my setup, I connect the Yamaha C5000 preamp balanced output directly to them, and in case you have a source with RCA single-ended outputs, you can use a RCA to XLR adapter or preferably buy a cable that takes you from RCA to XLR directly. Mind though that cable lengths should be kept fairly short with single-ended connections where you can easily run 100 feet or even twice that with a balanced connection. It's also possible to connect a digital source using AS-EBU. In essence, a complete system could be made with these speakers and a simple streamer. Something like the Cocktail X45 Pro can offer just that, as it has balanced outputs and a good, safe, variable output with mute functionality, remote, and so on. I would not recommend using the digital outputs for this, even though they too can be regulated as they are noisy. Check out this news show for that story. Direct link to the segment in the description of the video. You could also use a great little streamer like the Bluesound Node, which has excellent and safe preamp functionality too, and bridges almost any streaming service and method you can think of. See my review of the surprisingly amazing Bluesound Node in this review, linked below. The basic setup of the 1040R is straightforward. Nothing has to be assembled as they come like this out of the box. They can be set to turn on automatically, which turned out to work flawlessly. You can place them up against a wall if you want, and the extra bass can be compensated for with the little dip switches in the back, which have presets for different placements. This real-life scenario approach from Genelec just feels very reassuring. The 1040R also features Genelec's re-owned room compensation system GLM, short for Genelec Loudspeaker Manager. To utilize this, you can purchase the optional GLM kit. Many might only need it once and prefer to have a professional to set it up. I naturally would have such kit, which consists of a little box that interfaces with the speakers using Ethernet cables and connects via USB to a computer running the solid software. The calibrated measurement microphone can be placed on a microphone stand, which are not supplied, and connected to the little box. The system is the same as what is used with any of Genelec's DSP-enabled smart speakers. The GLM system is very flexible and fast, allowing users to add and control and balance and room correct multiple speakers to suit any channel configuration. It ensures that professionals are working at the correct calibrated levels and also monitors the actual playback level if the microphone is connected. Smart and informative. Doing the calibration is quick and easy and can be done with a number of choices such as symmetrical or individual EQ, quick measurement using the exact listening position, or multi-point measurements for a more balanced, wider field of optimized listening. Before the actual measurement, you define the room width, the height, and the length. It's also possible to add some notes. This is my living room. The measurements are sent to Genelec servers and the correction results are automatically applied. The calibration can be saved permanently to the speakers in case you don't have the GLM software connected, which makes sense in the home where you might not want extra Ethernet cables lying around once the calibration is done. But the absolute coolest thing about the whole GLM setup, though, is the free GLM report you can order. Based on the measurements, the Genelec servers generate a very comprehensive 32-page report about your listening space and also gives recommendation if your room has problems. This is nothing short of amazing and a very, very useful tool. I've included a link in the description down here to the report for this room, so you can download the PDF and study it if you're interested in watching a complete full report. With the setup completed, I'm now ready to do my favorite thing, just listening, immersing myself in exciting music. In the setup for the listening sessions, I simply hooked up to the C5000 Yamaha preamp and used different sources ranging from the Bluesound Node to the Sony HAP Z1ES. I kept the intimate near-field setup with the speakers about 3 feet, that is 1 meter, away from the back wall, even though they can easily be placed against the wall. But the results were so good right away that I decided to simply keep that position and not use the very slight correction that GLM suggested. Right away I played them the most challenging tracks from the Sonic Snacks playlist that are good to reveal problems right away. Tracks included Poem of a Chinese Drum and the Cantor's Choir recording Kyria, which is extremely challenging for the tweeters. In both cases, I sat there in wonder as the 1040R showed extremely good performance on a level I have not experienced in this room from any little two-way speaker before. Tracks I know very well, like Bob Dylan's Man in the Long Black Coat, usually presents a pretty raspy, almost annoying high end on his voice. But with the 1040R, it was portrayed with such wonderful balance. The same went for Chaka Khan's Angel, which can easily sound harsh when she's at her most powerful. I was really expecting a in-your-face studio monitor sound, undressing those problems right in your face. But it is not the case here. This 6040R aims to please, I'll say. The sound is very precise, but not judgmental. It might be one of the best balanced speakers I've actually ever had in my room, as it showcases all musical styles without any emphasis and manages to not sound boring at the same time. In fact, the sound felt warm to me and vocals was portrayed with a wonderful intimacy. I listened for hours on end, and no matter the content, this little speaker was able to put a smile on my face with its correct but joyful presentation. Music feels very, very alive on these. On Ernie Watts' Horizon, the piano and sax just felt present in the room. The soundstage were extending well beyond the sides of the speakers. I also noticed a very good off-axis response in the room when moving around and getting coffee and so on. My first super eargasm hit when listening to Herbie Hancock and Joni Mitchell performing The Man I Love from the 1998 album Gershwin's World. It simply sounded so competent that I totally forgot what I was doing and what I was listening to. Oh, yeah. And then there's the bass. All but the last octave is just there, and it's very well balanced too. All the intention of the bass is present. It comes across as a little dry, where a speaker like the SBR1s presents the feeling of more detail and resolution in the bass in direct comparison. There's a satisfying amount of definition by all measures. It's just one of those things where I think the SBR1 reference really shines. Dynamics are also presented with guts and intent. You feel there's a lot of headroom available before any limit is reached. I also found the 640R to deliver really impressive sound pressure levels. They keep composure with room to spare, even when you're listening at over 85 dBs in the listening position, which was about 2 meters away from the speakers. This is on par, or actually better, than the powerful Linkdorf Q100 recently reviewed, which would most likely require boundary woofers to achieve the same with headroom to spare. The 6040R would comfortably produce 90 dBs in the listening position before beginning to sound under pressure. How the hell do they do that from a 6.5-inch woofer in a sealed cabinet, I wonder? If I sound truly impressed, it's actually because I am. This is basically a professional monitor. So how come it can feel so good in this room with no correction of any kind and even placed away from the wall? Everything is there. Great bass, listening pleasure, intimacy, great imaging, really good balance, and a wide, even listening sweet spot, powerful dynamics, and pretty serious SPL capability, all from a ridiculously small cabinet housing that woofer and tweeter. Am I fooling myself here? Is love blinding? What? Time for a second opinion. Time for the two-way speaker, CD man, Carsten. The listening setup I made here kind of simulates Carsten's usual listening space and listening distance, so he immediately feels at home. Carsten never heard of Genelec, and I had not shared anything about my experience with him at all. I left him with the Sonic Snacks playlist and let him explore the speakers on his own. Usually Carsten comes up with a quick judgment, and sometimes it's pretty harsh. But today he just listened and played so much different music that excited him. He was shazamming away, discovering all kinds of new music he had not noticed before on the Sonic Snacks playlist. I just left the room, walked the dog, took phone calls in another room, and Carsten just kept on listening. It was highly unusual, as he usually starts complaining after a few minutes. So I let an hour pass before I asked him what he actually thought. Carsten was clearly hyped up. He pointed out that he found the speakers to be very alive and intimate, with a wonderful intensity and an amazing mid-range. He absolutely loved the sound. When I told him the price, his immediate response was, "What? Where can you buy these things? And can you get them without the stands for my bookshelf?" To further test the 6040R's capabilities and compare, I moved my Reference Techniques SBR1 speakers to the same position, powered by the new Prime Evolution 1 monoblocks. That is representing a €35,000 setup. Here the last octave of the bass was introduced again, along with more insight and space and some more hi-fi glossy silkiness overall. The mid-range did not have the same homogeneous character as when listening to the 6040R. And this, I think, is what makes the 6040 such a good music communicator with big emphasis on music. Here the SBR1s are actually much more of a snob, and it only portrays certain genres to absolute nirvana. The 6040R, on the other hand, makes much more music totally worthwhile. Carsten and I was both blown away by the performance, actually. It's hard to say if we would have the same experience with some of their sisters that look similar, so I asked the responsible engineer,
"What have you done, man?" We have big enough amplifiers, and we have very good quality low frequency drivers, so the woofer is very capable. It's very high quality woofer. Of course, we always tune the speakers. We do measure everything in an anechoic room, and we look at the curves. That's what we do. But in the end, the final tuning is done by ear, because even small changes, they do make a big difference. So what you were saying about the balance, for example, we did tweak the 6040 by ear, so that we could think that, okay, the balance now sounds right. But I would say that the angel dust in our products is the long experience that we have in designing loudspeakers. So you get all that in even the cheapest or the most affordable products what you buy. You get the same picky design people that we do the work as well as we can, even though it's the first speaker in our lineup.
I think that's really well said, Jussi, and because even with the G1, it's so tiny and little, and you wouldn't expect much from that product, and obviously it has limitations because it's so tiny, but you can still proudly say that it's Genelec because it's just done so well that you can do it for the size.
The 6040R ticks almost all the boxes for me in terms of sound from a compact two-way speaker. Yes, there's more expensive compact hi-fi speakers that will present even more detail and insight, but they often come at the expense of overall ability and power. The 6040R delivers almost 100 dBs, giving very decent SPL in larger rooms, good headroom for movie soundtracks, and more. Plus, it doesn't take up much footprint in the room. It's a elegant and unique design that, to my eyes, looks really good from any angle. It's a speaker that is so competent at what it does that it doesn't need to try to impress you. It offers a very rewarding listening experience and works well for both focused and casual listeners who simply want great music in the room. Thanks to the very nice off-axis characteristics, it's a speaker that pleases from any listening position. The Smart GLM is very good and allows you to add subwoofers and channel configurations just like the Pros would do it. It's a powerful tool that provides a lot of insight into your room as well. Another thing to keep in mind is the connectivity, which only uses professional standards. Cables need to go from your source to each speaker, and cable lengths should be limited if you don't have balanced outputs on the equipment. Everything about the 6040R simply feels rock solid. From the die-cast aluminium build to the setup, the sound, the software and the future-proofing. It's a little speaker system with a long-lasting all-round sound infused with that professional approach to things. The price is just under 8,000 euro for a pair, and it should be viewed with the fact that it comes with built-in room correction, built-in power amps, and speaker stands integrated. The only add-on you should consider is the GLM kit that costs around 300 euros. If I personally owned a pair of these, I think over time I would question how much they could be improved by being able to use other amplifiers to drive them. But that is the thing with the active speakers. They are kind of married to their amps forever. But that is also often what gives them their performance edge. The 6040R is one of the most impressive little 8,000 euro a pair speakers that I had the pleasure to meet. And I can only recommend that anyone on a hunt for a pair of compact and elegant music communicators for all-round listening to give them a try. The GLM system makes it a breeze to add and integrate subwoofers, allowing you to enhance performance and bass ability greatly if or when needed. During the review, it suddenly becomes very clear why these are not very often found in your average hi-fi store. They simply outperform other speakers of their size and type on all metrics. With that, I conclude my review. My warmest recommendation is hereby given, with a footnote of letting a professional install and set them up if you're not familiar with the concepts of the software and room corrections for the best results. This will also save you the expense of buying a GLM kit just to use it once. Stand by for the pros, the cons and the review score. Now I'm off on a RV vacation, visiting most parts of my country of Denmark. Until next time, please tap, 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 and share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all, eventually. But I do share videos that you find interesting with others in the audiophile forums and social media out there. And remember, you will know everything if you just listen.